everyone. This is Charles Gross from Two on the Aisle, and I'm here with Dave Lefkowitz on Dave's Gone By, UNC Radio.
Here on the 14th Annual TotalTheater Tony Show, I get to talk to someone that I've known for about 3 decades now. He's an old friend, old colleague, a fine critic, and a really great guy. His name is Charles Gross, and gosh, you can still see him on his long-running TV show, Two on the Aisle. It airs every other Thursday night at 10 o'clock Eastern on Manhattan Neighborhood Networking, streaming live on MNN.org. Plus, if you can't watch it live, then just go on YouTube and watch the videos at CD Gross. That's his YouTube channel, CD Gross. He is a member of the Drama Desk. Not only that, he is a performer and a writer. His show Tales from a Small Island off the coast of New Jersey, or How I Found an Affordable Apartment on the Upper West Side of Manhattan Without Really Trying, played a couple of performances a few years ago, and he's trying to bring it back. Plus, he's even written a children's book that is in search of publication as we speak. It's called The Adventures of Kim Gall, Car in the City. Here we are talking to Charles Gross. Hello, Charles. How you doing?
Hey, Dave. It is so good to be doing the Tonys with you. You know, what you didn't mention about Two on the Aisle is that you were on there many times before New York lost you to do just what we're doing now.
That's true, and now you do it with our great friend Leslie Hoban Blake.
Oh, yes.
So a big shout out to her. But right now, we need to talk about a big category here, original score, which means music and or lyrics written specifically for the theater. So the nominees are Angels in America, a play with music by Adrian Sutton, The Band's Visit, which is scored by David Yazbek, Frozen by the husband and wife team of Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, Mean Girls by the husband and wife team of Jeff Richmond and Tina Fey wrote the book, but Jeff Richmond and Nell Benjamin wrote the score for it, and finally a whole bunch
Only
of people...
one of them is married to Tina Fey.
That's, yeah, true. And then SpongeBob SquarePants, the musical, which has too many writing credits for the score to mention. There's a lot of famous people adding a song or two. So, Charles, with that in mind, what are your thoughts on original score?
Well, I think the fact that Angels in America was nominated shows that we're in a bit of a bind this year finding original scores on Broadway. I mean, it is rare, very rare, if it happens at all, that a play is nominated. And given that it is a play, I don't think it's going to have any chance, although I'm sure it will win a whole bunch of Tonys in other categories.
How did you like the music? Did it work for Angels in America? Was it effective?
Oh, yes, I think it was. I think this is the best production of Angels, and I saw the original production on Broadway. I saw one off Broadway a few years ago. This is the best because there has been some rewriting for the second play, Perestroika, that I think has made it stronger. You know, it's always been an amazing work. Highly, highly recommend this production.
But now we get to the actual real musicals. So,
yes.
Your thoughts on score?
Well, here we have some interesting choices. Mean Girls is a wonderful production, but here we have a very rare instance where the book by Tina Fey eclipses the music. I mean, you go out, you're going to see this, you're going to be very entertained, but try and hum a few bars of the score, and I think you're going to have trouble. So I don't think we'll be seeing that winning.
Okay.
Frozen, I think, is going to suffer from the Disney bias. You have Kristen Anderson Lopez, Robert Lopez. Between the two of them, he did Book of Mormon, Avenue Q. She did In Transit. I mean, they certainly have some very solid theatrical credentials between them. But there is the Disney bias, which you saw with Beauty and the Beast. I thought it would be kind of eliminated with The Lion King because that was just so amazing that the theater establishment just had to say, oh, all right, Disney can do a good musical on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a very good musical. I think it's actually superior to the film. And this would be my choice for first place for the award because it's just
really
score. The movie had a good score, though I wasn't crazy about the movie, mainly because, as my daughter pointed out, I'm not a 9-year-old girl.
But here's the other question is, score has to deal with music and lyrics specifically written for the theater. Well,
right.
The big Act 1 closing number of Frozen is Let It Go, a song everybody knows, every 9-year-old girl has heard 5 million times. That song technically can't count.
Well, the question is, are they including the entire score, or are they only including the new songs? If they
Right.
include the new songs, then that's a problem. If they take the score as a whole, which I think you have to do when you're, considering a musical, then it's certainly the best score. Their scores are pretty decent also.
Okay, but that's the thing. They can't take into consideration songs that were previously written. And that hurts. There's several recent musicals where people came in knowing the most famous song already. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what about some of the other nominees in this?
SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I was one of the few people, the minority of people, who was not overly enamored with SpongeBob. I mean, set was wonderful, performances very good, the score was all right.
Okay.
So, and you have so many. They're going to go broke making up each Tony Award for each of the...
That's funny. They have to make a statuette for literally the 24 people who contributed a song to SpongeBob SquarePants.
Right. And get them all on... And then they even have a Broadway veteran in there, Cyndi Lauper, who wrote
Kinky Boots. Yeah.
So that leaves us with The Band's Visit. This is the little musical that could.
Mm-hmm.
David Yazbek is also a Broadway veteran. Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So he certainly has some solid credentials. I have to say, I was very underwhelmed with the musical. I liked some of the performances, but I wasn't really very impressed with the story or the score. But I'm definitely in the minority, and I think it's not a brand musical. It's not an adaptation of a big film.
Mm-hmm.
It's not...
Well, it's an adaptation of a small film.
Yes, but it's a small film.
Right. It's not a well-known... It's not a Frozen. It's not a Mean Girls iconic thing.
And it came up from off-Broadway.
Yeah.
But most musicals are an adaptation of something. And I think this is everyone's going to look at this as the little musical that could. So I think this will be the show that takes home the Tony for Best Score this year.
But if you were voting, you would vote for Frozen.
I would vote for Frozen. Now, it's an interesting dilemma that you bring up. If I can't consider, not being able to consider the movie songs, I think I would consider them. I don't know. I guess I'd have to take a very close look at the rule book.
Yeah, and it's the same reason why Escape to Margaritaville, people might have other reasons for not nominating it for anything.
Well, you see,
but the score is all pastiche songs.
It's a bias, but there is also a bias against mindless musicals with volcanoes. There's a quota system. They will only nominate one of those a year, and Margaritaville was pushed aside for SpongeBob.
We're talking with Charles Gross here on the Total Theater Tony Show. So, Charlie, what was your favorite show on, off, or off Broadway of the entire 2017-18 theater season?
Actually, my favorite shows were off-Broadway this year. There were one Broadway musical, which I'll get to momentarily, and 3 off-Broadway shows. One was actually very off-Broadway. This was in Brooklyn, Eugene O'Neill's Strange Interlude. It was the entire play, which runs 5 hours, and one actor, David Greenspan, playing every role. It was amazing. Unfortunately, only a very brief performance, about a month and a half. And remember, it's Strange Interlude, they're having their private thought, so he had to do that, too, in addition to playing every character. And it was one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah, a little closer to home, the New York Theater Workshop, Mary Jane by Amy Herzog, about a single mother trying to care for a chronically sick child. An amazing play, because it was, this horrible scenario, but this sunny outlook. You feel the pain, but you also feel the love and the optimism, and that was very much conveyed in the play and in the performance of Carrie Coon as the mother. Really, really solid work. And then finally, there was Admissions, which just closed. It was playing at Lincoln Center, and this turns the whole affirmative action on its head. It's entertaining, but it's thinking, and invoked the style of George Bernard Shaw,
wow,
whose My Fair Lady is playing. Just opened at Lincoln Center, but this was by Joshua Harmon, and I'm very happy to say that both this and Mary Jane are being nominated for Best Play by the Drama Desk. They're not eligible for Tony Awards because they're off-Broadway, but amazing productions. On Broadway,
yeah,
I hate to use this cliche, if you see one musical a year, but if you see one musical in 10 years, see My Fair Lady at Lincoln Center.
Oh.
My Fair Lady, in my opinion, is the greatest musical ever written, and this production just goes to prove it. I only have a couple of nitpicks with it, in that a couple of the songs, they left a few verses out, which that's
For a purist like you who loves the show to pieces, okay, I get that.
Right.
But otherwise, it's magnificent.
It is magnificent and highly recommended. I would say, well, should I see this, Frozen, Dear Evan Hansen, or Hamilton? I would say go see My Fair Lady.
Big recommendation there from Charles Gross here on Dave's Gone By. Want to thank you so much, and I've got to recommend Two on the Aisle. You can watch it on YouTube or see it live on mnn.org every other Thursday at 10 o'clock in the evening. Charlie, best of luck with your plays, best of luck with your criticism, and much health and success. We'll talk to you next year.
Looking forward